You don't beg for submission, you engineer it. Machiavelli would never whisper sweet nothings or chase validation. He'd construct the conditions that force others to yield. And women are no exception. The world has lied to you, told you that being nice, being open, being emotional is the path to her heart. But understand this, a woman doesn't submit to kindness, she submits to dominance of the mind. Not force, not fear, but psychological gravity. An invisible pull she can't explain and can't escape. You want her to chase you, to obey you, to surrender her will? Then forget the tricks and tactics of the desperate. You must become the kind of man she can't control, can't predict, and can't replace. There are only 5 forces that make a woman truly submit, and none of them have anything to do with your looks, your money, or your charm. They are cold, strategic, and rooted in how you control yourself, not how you control her. Because in the game of dominance, submission is not demanded, it's triggered. And once you master these 5 triggers, her loyalty won't be optional. It'll be instinctive. If you're tired of being ignored, friend-zoned, or constantly disrespected, stop playing by their rules. Hit the subscribe button. This isn't about dating. This is psychological warfare. Most men are taught to impress, to please, to seek approval. And for that, they're punished. Because what women respect is not effort, it's power. Cold, quiet, unshakable power. If you're ready to stop chasing and start commanding, subscribe. This channel is not for the emotional, the desperate, or the delusional. It's for those who want control, for those who want her to submit, without begging, without talking, without lifting a finger. What comes next is not softness, it's strategy, and only the cold, calculated, and aware will understand. First strategy 1, have power over yourself. Machiavelli understood one eternal truth. He who cannot control himself controls nothing. And when it comes to submission, this is where it begins. Before you can dominate a woman's mind, you must first dominate your own. Because if she sees that you waver, she will never follow. If your emotions run wild, your ambition fades, or your discipline cracks, she will lose all respect. And once respect is gone, submission becomes impossible. Women aren't drawn to your muscles, your jokes, or even your money. They're pulled by one magnetic force, your self-command. The man who doesn't flinch, the man who doesn't chase, the man who moves with purpose while others move with impulse. That's the man she surrenders to, not out of fear, but fascination. Because power over yourself is rare. It's intoxicating. It makes her feel safe and simultaneously afraid to lose you. Control starts with your emotions. Never let anger, jealousy, or lust guide your actions. Machiavelli would say, emotion is a leash. Power begins where the leash ends. When she tests you, and she will, don't react, don't explain. You stay calm, silent, unmoved. That silence is power. That restraint is what tells her, this man doesn't need me, he chooses me. Next, control your time. A man with power never sacrifices his mission to win over a woman. Your purpose is the throne. Everything else must kneel to it. She wants to see that she is not the center of your world, because if she is, you've already lost the frame. And finally, control your energy. Don't waste it proving your worth. Don't over-explain. Don't over-text. Don't over-validate. The man who guards his energy becomes a mystery, and mystery is what makes a woman submit. Let's make this brutal. Picture 2 men. One sees a beautiful woman and drops everything. He texts her all day, cancels his gym session, pauses his business ideas. He's polite, available, eager. She smiles, then ghosts him. Why? Because she sensed that she was stronger than his purpose. Now the second man sees her, but he stays on course. He's kind but not available. She texts, he replies hours later, if at all. He's cold, focused, mysterious. He doesn't need her approval. He owns his time, his feelings, and his mission. She resents him. Then she obsesses. Then she submits. Because he never chased. He simply was. Understand this. The first level of dominance is self-mastery. Until you command your own mind, no woman will feel compelled to follow you. Strategy 2. Detachment. She cannot submit to a man she controls. and she cannot control a man who is detached. Detachment is the second trigger of submission, and it's one of the most misunderstood. Because detachment isn't apathy. It's not cold silence or cruelty. It's psychological dominance, the ability to want without needing, to engage without being owned. Machiavelli would say, to be desired, one must appear necessary to none. When a woman senses that your identity isn't tied to her affection, she leans in. When she sees that her approval doesn't shake your composure, she becomes curious. When she realizes she could walk away and you'd still be unbothered, still focused, still powerful, that's when the submission begins. Because women don't fall for the man who clings. They fall for the man who could walk away at any moment and mean it. Let's break it down. The average man fears loss. He texts constantly. He checks if she's online. He adjusts his tone, his interests, even his principles, just to stay liked. He may think he's being caring, but what she sees is weakness. She sees a man ruled by the fear of disconnection. And in her mind, if she can control your emotions, she can never respect your authority. But the Machiavellian man is different. He speaks less. He reveals nothing. He does not panic if she withdraws, because he doesn't chase. His detachment hurts her ego, which makes her crave validation. His silence forces her to think. His absence becomes a presence in her mind. Detachment is leverage. It creates psychological scarcity, and scarcity breeds value. If she feels like she can lose you, your worth multiplies. If she feels like you can lose her and remain unmoved, she becomes the one chasing, explaining, obsessing. A detached man doesn't react when she tries to bait him. She pulls back to test his reaction, and he doesn't flinch. She ignores his message, and he doesn't double text. She shows interest, and he still moves on his schedule. Not because he's playing games, but because his world doesn't revolve around her presence. Understand this brutal law. The man who makes himself emotionally scarce becomes a psychological addiction. And once that addiction forms, her submission is no longer forced, it's voluntary. She wants to be closer, to feel chosen, to regain the control she thought she had. But the game has already shifted. You became the prize, because you never tried to be one. So remember this, if you can't walk away, you can't lead. If you need her affection, you've already surrendered your power. And if you think detachment will push her away, you were never dominant to begin with. Strategy 3. Unreadable authority. There's a kind of man she can't stop thinking about. Not because of his looks, not because of his words, but because she can't figure him out. Unreadable men create psychological obsession, because women test, probe, and provoke to extract one thing: predictability. If she can predict you, she can manipulate you. If she can't, she submits. Machiavelli would never explain. He would never react, and that's why he was feared. Understand this. The more she understands you, the less she respects you. The more she can anticipate your next move, the less she values your leadership. You become just another open book, boring, available, conquered. But when your emotions don't reveal themselves, when your tone doesn't shift, when your eyes don't flinch, when your mind remains unreadable, you become powerful. Because unpredictability is dominance in disguise. Here's how this works in real life. She says something disrespectful. The average man argues, defends, explains. She now knows exactly which buttons to press. The Machiavellian man? He doesn't respond. He doesn't blink. He withdraws. And in that silence, her mind spirals. She wonders, did I go too far? Why didn't he react? Is he done with me? She's no longer in control. You are. Unreadability is not passive. It's strategic. It's a shield against emotional warfare. She pushes, you don't flinch. She seduces, you don't immediately fold. She asks what you're thinking. You smile, but say nothing. Now she's playing your game. When she can't decode you, she starts working for your attention. When she can't predict you, she starts adjusting her behavior. And in that reversal of roles, submission begins. Because here's the truth most men never realize. Mystery isn't created by saying the right things. It's created by saying less. The less you reveal, the more power you gain. Not just in relationships, but in all social dynamics. In Machiavellian terms, this is psychological asymmetry. You know her, but she doesn't truly know you. You read her emotions, but she can't read yours. And in that imbalance lies your control. So let this be a permanent principle. Power is silent, explanation is weakness, reaction is surrender. She does not submit to the man who explains himself. She submits to the man whose thoughts she can't access, whose emotions she can't decode, and whose intentions she's dying to understand. Be that man. Strategy 4. Control your desire. Desire is not weakness, but uncontrolled desire? That's suicide for both power and attraction. Women don't submit to the man who wants them. They submit to the man whose desire is a reward, not a given. This is where most men fail. They give attention like a starving dog, too fast, too eager, too openly. And the moment she senses that thirst, the power dynamic collapses. But the Machiavellian man, he flips the script. He knows his desire has value. So he doesn't offer it freely. He rations it. Like gold, she earns it, she chases it, she waits for it. And when she finally receives it, it feels like a privilege, because it is. Here's how you establish controlled desire. Don't initiate contact constantly. Don't flood her with compliments. Don't drop everything when she calls. Instead, reward loyalty. When she respects your boundaries, show affection. When she sacrifices for you, show warmth. But when she disrespects you, go silent. Silence is punishment. Attention is currency. That's the Machiavellian equation. Think of a king on a throne. He doesn't chase, he doesn't explain, he doesn't ask, he simply exists, and his presence is the prize. When you see yourself this way, your energy shifts. You speak slower, you move with purpose. You look at her not with need, but with discernment, as if to say, "Are you worthy of this?" She feels that, and suddenly, your desire isn't a weapon against you. It's a weapon in your hand. Because here's the brutal truth. The moment she knows you'll do anything for her attention, she stops valuing it. But when she's unsure, when your interest is elusive, mysterious, conditional, she works harder, she invests more, she submits deeper. Controlled desire is about balance. Too much and you become weak. Too little and you become cold. But just enough at the right time makes you unforgettable. You are no longer the pursuer. You are the standard she's trying to live up to. And what makes this so Machiavellian? It's not manipulation. It's calculation. You're not cold. You're measured. You're not withholding. You're testing. Because a man who knows his value doesn't beg to be desired. He lets his silence speak and watches who earns the privilege of breaking it. She doesn't submit to the man who gives her everything. She submits to the man who gives her just enough to crave more. That's controlled desire. That's psychological dominance. Strategy 5. Have a purpose greater than her. A woman will test your emotions. She will test your limits. But there is one thing she can never defeat: a man with a mission greater than her. This is the final and most devastating trigger of submission. You see, most men orbit around women. They tailor their time, goals, energy, and identity around keeping her. And in doing so, they become small, predictable, replaceable. But the Machiavellian man? He orbits nothing. His entire life is structured around his purpose, a pursuit so vast, so consuming, that no woman can distract him from it. And paradoxically, that's the man she will submit to. Why? Because nothing triggers feminine surrender like masculine immovability. Purpose is gravity. It commands attention without asking. It speaks louder than gifts, compliments, or romantic gestures. This is the man who wakes early, not to text her good morning, but to sharpen his mind, expand his empire, and build a world she wants to be part of. He is emotionally anchored, psychologically fortified, and ruthlessly loyal to one thing: his mission. She knows she can't compete with it, so she stops trying to pull him off course and starts trying to earn a place within it. That's the shift. A man led by purpose is not distracted by mood swings, attention games, or sexual bait. His time is too expensive. His energy is too rare. And she knows, if she disrespects him, she's out of the orbit for good. This doesn't mean he's cold or heartless. It means he operates from hierarchy. His mission comes first, his values second, her emotions a distant third, unless they align with his path. Machiavelli once said, "He who is led by a cause becomes a god in the eyes of the unanchored." And that's exactly what happens. When she sees a man who needs nothing from her, but is building something far beyond her, she feels two things. One, insecurity, because she realizes she is not his center. Two, obsession, because she knows this type of man is 1 in 10,000. This man is dangerous, not because he's cruel, but because he's indifferent to validation. He doesn't need to impress her. He needs to build, to conquer, to leave a mark. And that is what makes him irresistible. Women don't follow the man who chases them. They follow the man who chases legacy. Think of Caesar. Think of Alexander. Think of any man who ruled not through charm, but through vision. They didn't write love letters. They wrote history. And the women followed, not because they were asked, but because they had to. Your job isn't to convince her to stay. Your job is to become so consumed by your purpose that her only option is to submit or be forgotten. A man without purpose is a leaf in the wind, blown by every emotion, every temptation, every whim. But a man with purpose, he's a storm, and she either finds shelter within him or she gets swept away. You must know this. Submission is psychological, not physical. And it is one truth most men never realize. Submission has nothing to do with looks, muscles, or even words. It's psychological, it's invisible, and it begins in the space between your ears, not between your legs. The man who thinks submission is about dominance in the bedroom will always lose to the man who dominates the room without touching a thing. Why? Because real submission happens before she says a word, in her mind. When she senses you're immune to manipulation. When your silence says more than her shouting ever could. When your life is too full, too purposeful, too high value to orbit around her emotions, she yields, not out of fear, not out of romance, but because something in her instinct says, this man is too powerful to control and too valuable to lose. That's the game. She doesn't submit to you. She submits to the psychological dominance you've constructed, brick by brick, through self-control, through indifference to loss, through your unshakable pursuit of legacy. Looks fade, money fluctuates, but psychological leverage, that's permanent. A man who is calm when tested, cold when disrespected, silent when provoked, that man doesn't need to ask for anything, because the world bends around him. And she will too. Machiavelli understood this. He didn't teach men to charm. He taught them to control, not through force, but through perception. This is not about getting a woman. This is about becoming the kind of man no woman can resist surrendering to. Because she knows, whether she admits it or not, she can't manipulate what she can't understand. She can't predict what she can't read. And she can't dominate what she can't reach. So she gives in. And that's the final lesson. You don't ask for her surrender. You build a life so anchored, so intense, so untouchable, that her only instinct is to follow, submit, and serve your cause. Not out of love, not out of need, but because power, real power, always conquers softly from the mind outwards. If you want to be liked, walk away now. This message wasn't for the soft. It wasn't for the romantic. It was for the few men who understand. Attraction is war. Submission is strategy. And love, if it comes at all, is the byproduct of psychological dominance. So if you're tired of chasing, tired of being ignored, tired of playing games you never designed, join the cold, join the calculated, join the aware. Subscribe now and step into a world where men don't beg, don't apologize, and don't flinch. They build power, they wield control, and they walk away smiling because they know who they are and what they deserve. This isn't dating advice. This is Machiavellian warfare. And if you understood even half of what you just heard, you're already becoming the kind of man they'll never forget.